Welcome to the Sleepover podcast, a sacred space created for the girls to have some much needed girl talk centered around everything healing, self-development, faith, and self-love. I'm your host, Rakisha Cox. On this podcast, we'll have raw and honest heart-to-heart conversations that allow us to come undone and be our most vulnerable selves as we navigate through the dark waters of our 20s and 30s. Honestly, boldly, and faithfully. So put on your pajamas, grab your favorite drink, your favorite girls, and come with an open heart and honest mind because it's time for the sleepover. Hey girls, hey! Welcome back to the Sleepover podcast. Happy summer. It is officially July. And although summer does begin in June, I feel like July is like officially summer. So it is the summertime, and I know I've been a little MIA, but I promise I have good reasoning for that. And I'll let you guys know what that reason is in a little bit. But before we even do anything, I'm just going to go over to our Vibes on Ice segment, which really isn't even our segment for the day because I don't really have much going on over here. So for this song, like I said, is Summertime. And one of my favorite summer songs is Summertime by Will Smith. I just love when the weather is nice and the windows are down and I'm blasting it in my car, on the radio. It's a good time. So Summertime by Will Smith. Classic, for sure, a classic. Like when you hear that song, you just know it's summer. You just know it's summer. And honestly, Summertime Shy, undefeated. But for our drink, I'm just having water. I got a new water bottle and I've been drinking a lot more water. So I'm so proud of myself. Honestly, if you don't drink enough water, you probably just need a new water bottle. Make sure it's one of the ones that keeps your ice cold and you don't even have to go get a Stanley because like paying $40 for a water bottle is crazy work. I got me this like stainless steel water bottle from Marshall's for a fraction of the price of a Stanley, and it gets the job done, and it's still cute, and I love it. So I've been drinking a lot more water, but I guess we should just get into where I have been, huh? So I can't remember what I said on my last episode. I do remember I told you guys that I was dealing with a lot of family stuff and things like that, and things were just chaotic at the moment. Things have still been a little chaotic. I just recently lost my grandfather on my mom's side. Like 2 years later, after I lost my grandfather on my dad's side, they both passed away in the month of May, which is just crazy. But I've been just dealing with the aftermath of death and grief, and I've been around my family a lot, and you know, it's hard to just pick back up like nothing happened. So I've been just taking my time and just being gentle with myself and just compassionate towards myself. So that is where I have been, just taking some time off to make sure my mental is good and my emotional is good. So with all that being said, I have been doing some reflecting and just thinking about how much grieving I've been having to do over the course of the past 12 months, and not just grieving from death, but from friendships ending to relationships changing, and of course, loved ones passing away, but also just grieving this life that I thought I would have by now. You know, that dream life that I created in my head somehow. I don't even remember when I started it, but just grieving that life and all that I thought was going to come with it. And yeah, I've been grieving in just so many different ways and aspects. And speaking of grief, last night I watched Waves on Netflix. It's a movie on Netflix, and it is just, chef's kiss. It is a masterpiece. Like, it is the perfect depiction of grief in just so many different forms, because grief doesn't just come from someone passing away or breakup. Like, you can grieve even when you're making transitions in your life. You could grieve from a job ending, from you going to college or leaving college. You can grieve from you changing projects that you may have worked on but decided to close that chapter on. In the movie, one of the main characters, he grieved in so many different ways. He grieved the loss of his dreams. He grieved because he had a really bad breakup, and his family also grieved. I don't want to get into it, but it's a really, really good movie. Go watch it. But there's just this sadness that follows you along with all of these transitions in life. And I just feel like God is still in the midst of grief, moving things and shaking things. One of my favorite scriptures is Hebrews 12. And I don't know what version this is, but this is the version that I always hear. But it's not NIV, because when I read it in my NIV Bible, it's not this. But everything can be shaken. Everything that can be shaken will be shaken, so that what cannot be shaken will remain. One of my favorite scriptures, again, that's Hebrews 12. It's not that I'm saying that grief is this good thing, but like, there are certain things that wouldn't happen if it wasn't for the changing and things that take place when you are grieving. And that's what grief really is. It's just like this sadness that comes with the change that we didn't want or expect to happen. And of course, like, in certain situations, you may not see the good yet. You may not, a lot of the times, you are not going to see it up front. It comes like later on in life when you kind of have that aha moment, like, oh, that's the goodness that came out of that situation. Like, it was a sucky, horrible situation, but there was some goodness that still came out of it. And that's just God in the midst of it. So I went to brunch with my cousins last weekend, and I just realized that I have not had that much fun in over a year. Like, literally over a year. Not saying that like I haven't had fun and had moments of just joy and things like that, but I haven't had that much fun in like over a year. Honestly, like last Juneteenth, I believe, because I took off work. I ran some errands, and I just ended up having a random day that was not planned with one of my friends. We went to brunch, we went to the movies, we just hung out. And at that time, I actually hung out with her because she was grieving, because she had just lost someone at that time. But it was just a fun day. It was unexpected, it was random, it was a fun day. But yeah, I feel like grieving the loss of my granddad bonded my family back together. And I'm not saying like my family was horrible or dysfunctional or anything like that, but before he passed away, there were people who weren't talking. There were people who hadn't spoke or been on good terms in like over a year. You know, we have our tiffs with family. Like, I think everybody's family is a little dysfunctional and delusional at times. So we were just acting like any normal family. But there's just this like closeness that in this bond that you experience when you go through something traumatic and something hard like that with people. And I just really feel like the good that I can see God bringing out of that situation is my family just being so tight knit, like we always have been again. And it's just been such a blessing. Like, we have nightly prayer every single day. We started doing it when my granddad was sick and in the hospital, but it's just something that we've continued, and it's just been so great. And, you know, we have our family group chat now, and we're all checking on each other and we're spending more time together. Like, this is the most I think I've ever spent this much time with my family. And I'm introverted and I'm a homebody. So normally I'm kind of like, this is great. I need my space. I'm still kind of like that, but like, it's just been such a great time. It's been such a blessing. I'm just so grateful to have the family that I have and to be in the family that I have. But also, I've talked about it before, but I had a friendship end last year. I've had several friendships end last year, but this one particular friendship ending, it allowed me to make space for what my relationship with God should look like. And I discovered that I'm a highly sensitive person. I really want to get into that on like a separate episode because I think a lot of people think it just means like I'm this super sensitive, like you say something to me, I'm gonna go cry in the corner, super emotional. And it's actually much deeper than that. Highly sensitive people make up about, I want to say, I think it was 20 or 30% of the entire population, but it's deeper than just being an introvert or just being an empath or things like that. So I really want to like go into that because I've been exploring it and I've been having such a good, interesting time just exploring what it means to be a highly sensitive person. But I also rediscovered that I'm an INFJ personality type. I just love learning about things like that. Like, I don't know. That's my nerdy trait. I love just learning about like psychology and just those kind of things. But anyways, the friendship breakup triggered me so bad, and for a while I could not figure out why it triggered me so bad. But I think it was because there was a part of that friendship that felt a lot like the bad relationship that I was in college. And I think that's why it triggered me so bad. So after that, after the friendship ended, I went on this deep reflection and healing journey. And that has just been so helpful because I've really just come to understand myself better and also understand what I desire in my relationships with others and also my relationship with God. You know, that friendship and then another friendship imploded pretty much around the same time. One of them was actually like a friendship. The other one was just with someone who I was dating, but we weren't in a relationship. So that's why I'm calling it a friendship because there was still, that friendship aspect to it. But both of them were also Christian. And unlike me, both of them grew up heavily in the church. I didn't grow up in the church. I went to church when I was younger, but I was never like forced to go to church. And like, it wasn't something, it wasn't something that I always did. Like, I know some people's parents are just like, no, you're going to get up, you're going to go to church every single Sunday. That was not my life. That was not my life. My granddad was a pastor, but it still just was not my life. But anyways, I had this perception of God that was incorrect because of the other people that had this perception of God that was incorrect. Like, I feel like a lot of people who grow up heavily in the church, sometimes they can have this relationship with God to where it's like he is this dictator and you have to be this perfect Christian. Like, you can't say no, can't have boundaries. You can't mess up or make a mistake. You can't show any emotions. And that skewed my perception of who I was supposed to be. Like, I thought that I had to be this perfect cookie cutter Christian that doesn't get annoyed with people and that doesn't enjoy a little glass of wine from time to time and that doesn't mess up. And when I did mess up, I would scald myself and I had just no compassion or grace for myself. And that just led to guilt and shame. And what I'm really saying is that that's not God. That's not who God is. that's not who we have to be as Christians. And I know some Christians say surround yourself with a Christian community, but for me, as someone who didn't grow up in church, I've had to learn that I also have to be careful and have my discernment in my relationships with people who did grow up in the church, because sometimes they come with these super religious projections and judgments, and it can be a little harmful. And it can be a little harmful to someone who's, I mean, I still consider myself pretty new on my walk with God. I think I really started taking my faith serious in like 2019, but I mean, I've always been Christian, but I just feel like those types of people who are those super religious and catty Christians can be a little detrimental for someone who's newly on their walk and just trying to figure it out, you know? So yeah, I don't know. When I was in a relationship with those types of people, I would just betray myself because I was too busy trying to prove and show my salvation that I didn't put people in their place like I should have. And I'll get into that on another episode, because I also want to like deep dive into this cookie cutter Christian epidemic and how toxic it can be to your relationship with God. But soon come on another episode. So I mentioned the whole idea. Hopefully you guys don't hear that in the back. I think somebody's mowing grass because it's summertime. But anyways, I mentioned the whole cookie cutter Christian thing and how being in those friendships kind of skewed my relationship with God for a while. But then I also mentioned how getting out of them helped me learn that I was a highly sensitive person. So discovering what a highly sensitive person is and having that like aha moment about why I am the way I am and what I personally need to be my best self showing up in the world, that came from having people tell me I'm super sensitive and emotional, and asking myself why people think that, because I feel like that's pretty normal. Like, I'm human. Is that not normal? But apparently it's not, because a lot more people would rather act tough and spiritually bypass more than they think it's okay to be emotional and sensitive. And I will always give myself full permission to be human and empathetic. And yeah, I just feel like those friendships ending helped me to better understand myself. So I say all that to say change produces change. Grief produces change. God will shake you to produce change. We can be so afraid to change that we end up stuck and resenting God for shaking. And trust me, I have been there. I am there, because it's just like, okay, how much shaking are you gonna do? Are we done here? But so I'm gonna tell you guys a little story, and then I'm gonna wrap this up, because I feel like I don't even know what this episode is about at this point. But when my dad's dad passed away, 2 years, I believe, I was over my grandmother's house, and we were just kind of helping her prepare the obituary and things like that. But she had a box of books, and I'm a book girl, so I was going through them. She was like, you could take whatever you want. And I just ended up grabbing this Bible stories book. It pretty much like sums up a lot of the well-known stories in the Bible, but it also has pictures. And the Wednesday after my granddad's funeral, I went into Wednesday night Bible study just like needing a word from God, just needing to understand, like, why did this happen? Because that was the first time I had had anyone super close to me pass away. So I was just like, why did this happen? And I'm always that type of person that's like looking for the deeper meaning in things, because I'm a highly sensitive person. That's a part of that. So I went into Wednesday night Bible study just like needing something from God, just needing a why. And I don't remember what Bishop Jakes preached, but I don't remember what it was called. I really don't even remember what the sermon was about, but I do remember the scripture that he talked about. And the scripture popped up. Like, that was the first time that I had ever even noticed this scripture in Genesis. I believe it's Genesis 28 or 29. But I kept seeing it after that, which was weird. But Genesis 28 or 29, it was basically the story of when Jacob had a dream, and in this dream there was this staircase, and the angels on the staircase were, it said that they were ascending and descending. And I just so happened to like follow up with the book that my grandma gave me, the Bible Stories book, and I was looking at the picture in that book, and of course they had the staircase with the angels ascending and descending, but I noticed that there were, I think, 3 angels that were ascending back up to heaven, but there were also 3 angels that were descending down to earth. And that just really reminds me of the scripture the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. But also I feel like just seeing the 3 angels that were ascending and then the 3 angels that were descending, it just gave me peace in knowing that, I don't know why I'm getting emotional. Whew. It gave me peace in knowing that even when God takes someone away, he replaces them in some type of way. So even when he calls his angels back up to heaven, he still sends other people and other things and peace and joy back into your life. God is not a God who just strips things away and takes things away from you. Whew, I was not expecting to get emotional. Hold on. But I thank God for giving me my granddaddies, for letting me borrow them while they were here on earth. You know, there's people who can't even say they had all 4 of their grandparents in their life, and I got to know and experience my grandfathers. And the same goes for friendships of the past. Like, I'm so grateful that I got to experience those friendships. They were beautiful while they happened, and I learned to grow from things. Relationships of any kind will always help you grow and learn more about yourself and learn what you want and what you need if you let them. If you let them. So I say all that to say, life is a series of blows. If you don't learn the best way for you to recover, you will let those blows consume you. In this chapter of my life, I feel like I'm learning how to not let the blows consume me, and like how to recover after loss and change. So recently, I started EMDR therapy on YouTube, and that's been helping me actually like process my trauma and grief. Because I told you guys, talk therapy really doesn't work for me. Like, I just end up intellectualizing my feelings and not like actually processing my grief and things. But yeah, it's been really helping me. Also, getting outside and just remembering what I love doing, like cooking and baking and scrapbooking, but also remembering to make space for new things and new people. Because, like I said, God is not just taking things away from you, He's also replacing things, putting better things in your life, better people in your life. So, I normally give you guys, well, I'm starting to give you guys a journal prompt. So our journal prompt for today is, what areas of your life do you have unprocessed grief? And what can you do to help yourself process and bring healing in those areas? For me, it's been allowing myself to fall apart and be sad when I need to, no matter how long ago something happened, no matter what. Like, I am just learning to not like dismiss my sadness and be like, That happened a month ago. That happened a year ago. So what? So what if it happened 10 years ago? I could still be sad about things that I've experienced, and yeah, it's okay. Also, like I said, EMDR therapy and making time for selfish self-care. So if that means I'm putting my phone on do not disturb and not attending prayer for the night with my family, so be it. I think when you're grieving, you really, really have to focus on your self-care and not be selfish. I don't think it's a time to be selfish, but when it comes to self-care, definitely be selfish, if that makes any sense. But I'm wishing peace and childlike joy to return to all of you this summer. I'm trying to get back into the habit of making episodes, so be patient with me. Be patient with me. Give me some grace. Charge it to my head, not my heart. Okay, I will talk to you all at the next sleepover.